Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's body image and fitness coach. Today, I'm joined with the lovely Zenia Wood. Did I pronounce that right, by the way?
You did. Yeah, Zenia. Perfect.
Zenia. There we go. Cool. Because there's nothing worse than actually introducing someone and I get the name wrong. It happened once and I'm so particular about it for not happening again. Anyway, back to that. So guys, welcome back. I'm Siggy. I have Zenia Wood with me, who is a health coach and is the owner of Swift Movement Academy. Now, they're all about empowering people to have an injury self-management with movement education. Now, they also help health professionals from surviving to thriving to creating that financial freedom and impact that they've only ever dreamed of. Thank you for joining me. I'm so freaking excited to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on. It's a pleasure.
I love it. So let's start off with what made you start your own academy?
So I think you kind of go to uni and get a degree and then, I don't know, I just always felt like I, said one day I'll have my own thing. And I think as you go through an industry, you kind of realize what other people do that you feel like you could do better. And I think that's where most businesses form. They see a gap and they say, this wasn't available for me, or, I really feel like I can do it better than what's being done now. So it's really about adding more value and creating something different and new and better that either wasn't provided for you when you were going through the system, or that you've seen maybe from servicing clients a way that, your old employer did it that doesn't quite sit well with how you would want to do things.
I love that. And hence why you're also doing the business side of things, not just the health now.
Yeah, absolutely. So Coaches Academy is our second company, which is focused on health professionals, personal trainers, anyone allied health. And that's really, I guess, focusing on empowering and creating opportunities so that, I guess, our mission is that no health professional ever has to leave the industry because they can't sustain a job, or that they can't make it work financially, because there are so many passionate people who end up going into something like real estate that's totally left of center because they feel like it's not a financially viable option for them to be a PT forever. And we want to make sure that they can stay in the industry. And then the cool thing with that, from being a coach or having a rehab business, is that then we get to also continue to have more incredible practitioners who have been around for a long period of time, because they don't kind of churn through the system and then leave because they can't continue to grow financially as they age.
I really want us to dive deep into this today, because I feel there's this thing going on right now that a lot of people are coming into the industry wanting to become personal trainers, however, feeling stuck or not thinking that it's a forever job. So it's just like, it's a now job, but then my future job will be something completely different. I'm sure you come across this a lot with personal trainers.
Yeah, I think it's really lovely and nice to see a lot of refreshing new people coming into the industry, but then you do sort of start to see that a lot of them sour as they go through it, and then they don't want to work 5 a.m. till 8 p.m. every night, and they want to have a life, but then they feel trapped in this thing that they've created that they didn't want. Or you see the other side of it where they turn into, I know how to kind of run a business, so I'll become a business coach and not be a PT anymore. And then they're teaching other people how to do what they either don't want to do or didn't do successfully to be able to scale. So yeah, I guess it's providing them with opportunities to do what they love long term and actually create a sustainable, successful career out of it, whatever that looks like for them.
I'm so glad we've opened this conversation about this, because this has been on my mind for quite a while. So let's go back to, okay, so as personal trainers, we all start on the gym floor. Well, most of us have started on the gym floor working with clients. However, I feel as if now, and don't get me wrong, I'm all up for us being online and having that freedom. However, it's painting this picture to a lot of personal trainers that is the end goal, that from you starting in the gym floor, you have to become an online coach. Now, here's the thing. If you prefer being on the gym floor because you love that human connection and you're okay working at 5 a.m. and going home at 9 p.m. at night because that satisfies your fucking soul, I don't think online coaching is for you. I think online coaching is for you if you do want to create a different type of life than just being on the gym floor. So I'd love your thoughts around this, because I know this is something that's going around for a while.
Yeah, I think the other thing to mention too is that it's not shameful to want to work face to face with people, and it's not a lesser thing to do. And it's, people, I think actually over glorify this working remote, because I have the capacity to do that, but I still stay in the city where my business runs, because I want that connection. I want to go and say hello to my clients. I want to be involved, and I also want to be around my community. And we create all these online spaces, but we also need our physical spaces to have these open, honest conversations. And to your point of working on the gym floor, I also think the thing that doesn't have to be the norm is that you don't have to work 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. every single day for the rest of your life. That is something that often we do and we grind through at the start. But if we can teach business owner or personal trainers or health coaches to be more savvy, then they can be like, you know what, now I have kids, I'm a little bit older, and I want to be the trainer for mums, and I only work 9 till 3. And if you find your niche with that, and that is that, I have goosebumps talking about this, but you can do what you want to do, and you can say, I only work 5 till 12 in the morning or whatever it is. And I think that people really polarize and they say, oh, I have to do all these hours all the time for the rest of my life, and that's unsustainable, which I agree. Or they say I have to be 100% online, and then I don't get any personal connections and touch. And our business is actually cater for both, so that we do have some online clients who, they live rural Australia, and so they don't have anyone physically located in their area. And this is for personal training, and we do it differently. So we do live virtual coaching, so we're in their ears while they're in the gym, and so we do it differently, because everyone else is trying to do this model of programs and check-ins and things like that, and we've gone, well, that's kind of saturated now. What do we offer, and how do we make it different? So, it comes with a higher price tag. It also comes with more face-to-face time with them, but it is a market that I think is really untapped.
And I love the fact that you also mentioned about that progress for personal trainers. As you said, we don't necessarily have to grind ourselves for years and doing that 5 a.m., 9 p.m. Finish, because it's really fun. Because I had this conversation with a mentee of mine, and she's a mum, and she's like, I don't see myself waking up at 5 a.m. every morning to train clients. I'm like, you don't have to. You're a mum. Your niche is mums. So guess what? You're in a really good type of environment where your mums are going to be wanting to work with you, mid-morning, midday, when they don't have the kids around. And once personal trainers find that click and they're like, oh, yes, you're right, it's working towards my benefit, then the story changes. Then they realize, oh, there is potential for me to move forward with my career, because there is progress without having that fixed mindset that PTs work 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. every day.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, right? When you say that, we kind of assume that the pathway has to be A, B, C, D down this rabbit hole that everyone else has done before us. Yeah. But there are so many different opportunities to see different ways of doing things now, that we can carve our own path based on a bit of this, a bit of that, and figure out what we want to do. But I think so often we get into it and we go, well, everyone else does this, so I have to do this, and this is the way forward, and I can't do anything else. And so they have these blinkers on, being like, I have to follow what everyone else is doing. And realistically, I think that leads them down the same path that everyone gets a little bit sour about, being like still working, 70-hour weeks, because they've never sat back and gone, what do I want for me, and how can I do it differently?
And you know what? Doing it differently is scary, because you're not doing what other people are doing. We're constantly seeing what other coaches or business owners are doing. So we think, as you said, we think that is the way for us to do it. But then when we actually need to tap into our intuition and our passions and going, okay, this is what I want to do. But most people don't go ahead with it because they lack that belief, or they have those limiting beliefs going, oh, well, if I do something different, people are not going to follow me, or people are not going to buy my shit because I need to be like X, Y, and Z.
And I think, the inverse is totally true. And we're not here to service everyone. And I think the point of confidence is huge. And so people go, oh, well, I know that works because I've seen other people do it, even though maybe it's not really truly what I want to do. But having the courage and having the support, like you obviously run mentorship programs, as do I, to be able to help someone through those periods of uncertainty and self-doubt, and being like, is this going to work? And ask someone who's already been there and done it, to save you time, to save you effort, to save you heartache, and to save you a lot of money.
100%. Speaking of saving money.
Weird segue, but go for it.
I know, right? Speaking of saving money, I really want to open the discussion around business coaching. We both, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a business coach. I would say more like a mentor. I don't know, like for some reason, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it feels as if a lot of people are butchering the business coaching aspect of things. It's been, you know what, like I might be digging myself in a hole right now, but we're all here to make fucking money. We know that for sure. However, I feel as if many coaches out there right now are too consumed about how much money everyone should be making, instead of actually coming back to the sole purpose of us as coaches who are supposed to be helping people.
I think the thing is that people think that they can't go hand in hand, and the impact and the financial freedom are two separate categories, and you have to choose whether you're going to be dirty and sleazy and take people's money, or whether you're going to be community driven and create all this impact and incredible results for people. But I realistically see them as like a harmonious duo, because if you don't have the money to sustain your job, you can't help people. And so people, like the people who help the most people in the world, realistically, are going to be the billionaires who then go and, feed children in Africa and can, provide economies with the things that they need. And so I think that it's realistically potentially comes from our, our own money worries or things like that. And these sort of, we dabble in like, oh, I'd like to make some more, but then you're like, oh no, but that's meant to be bad and it's not community. But I really think that if you can create an incredible community, people are willing to pay for that, and want to be a part of something like that. And if you have concerns about it, I feel like the difference is the value, right? Like if you're selling something that's worth $50 for $300, then obviously you're probably going to feel a little shitty about it. But if you would pay 10 times the amount that you're charging for that service, or someone in that position, then I think it's a different story. Maybe you wouldn't pay $100 a week for coaching because you've got the degree, you have the education, you know the things. But if someone in the position who's going to be a perfect client for you is really in a lot of pain, or really anxious, or really needs to lose the weight, and that's their whole, focus in their life is their health and the negatives of that, then people are absolutely willing to pay if the value is there. So I think value is the thing that we need to tie into cost and make sure the value far exceeds it. And that way we do create both the money that we want and the community and the impact that we can have.
100%. I completely agree with all of that, because again, as coaches helping other coaches or helping clients like Gen Pop, the number one thing that they care is about how we make them feel, not necessarily about how much money we're fucking making, to be honest. And speaking of value, I actually saw someone post about this yesterday or the day before, saying, and you mentioned this just now with the higher investments, that it's not always necessarily the higher prices that give you a better coaching service. Like you said, like some people will be able to invest $100. Some people may not. Some people may be able to invest thousands of it. It just depends on the degree of level of investment. However, I feel as if those who are investing higher amounts of money, which again, kudos to you, nothing against that. However, it doesn't mean that because they're paying a higher price, meaning that it's going to be more powerful.
I think it depends on where you're at too, and what a high price means to you, because I think, $2,000 to one person is so much.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to somebody else, depending on, again, the value. But if we look at like, what's the return on the investment? And it doesn't matter whether it's business coaching and you put in 2,000, you get out 20,000, amazing, you've 10x your investment, or you put in $2,000, you lose 10 kilos and find the dream partner of your life. Like, what's the ROI on that? Like, you can't monetize it, but you can be like, I feel like a whole new person. That was absolutely worth that. I would have paid $20,000 for it. So, I think it's just about making sure that you're doing things and when we're investing, and it's not just money, but it's time, it's effort, it's energy, it's your space. Because if you don't have the ability to invest money, you can invest time and go, I want to learn from this person, and can I get in their space, and can I help them and do things for free, or, ways that we can do it. But I think that if we're not investing in our own learning and in whatever capacity that we can, and making decisions that feel a little bit scary so that we actually are more committed to them, I think is a huge deal. Because if you put down $2,000 and that feels like nothing to you, then the amount of effort that you're going to put into that is less than if, $50,000 is, oh my God, like that's humongous. You put that down, and I've put down, things more than that for my own mentoring that I'm getting. And that's when I really pay attention, because I go, wow, like if I put $2,000 into the same thing, I wouldn't show up with the same intensity and the same level of respect, because for me, that was huge. And maybe, time is your investment asset that you have. But I think it's making sure that whatever you invest is something that feels a little bit scary, because if it doesn't, it's probably not going to pay off.
And speaking of scary, because I've had a couple of other conversations with certain coaches, mainly, is when they've actually stretched themselves a little bit too much with the finances. Now, we're speaking openly right now, saying that investing higher prices, yes, you are going to be serious about it. You're going to be very committed. And we know every level is different to everyone else. However, I find with the conversations that I've had that they've just stretched themselves so thinly with their finances that they feel so anxious and stressed out, which obviously isn't going to help their success. Like, have you come across this with yourself or, with other coaches?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, because I feel like you need to really know yourself with this, and you need to be aware of your own limitations or what's viable for you. Because if you are, and this isn't to say that everyone has to have everything up front ready to go payment wise, I don't think that that's the best way to do it, because otherwise you're not able to do some of the things that could be really beneficial for you, especially if we're talking about business coaching, where the purpose is to make money.
Yeah.
So you should be gaining as you go through, right? But I think that the challenge comes in when, I guess, we're looking at investment and people stretching themselves thin. It's like, well, how much effort are you willing to put in to get a reward or an ROI rather on that? And if you go, I'm going to put in $20,000 and my coach is going to make me rich and I get to sit here and do nothing, then obviously that's the wrong mindset approach to it. Whereas if you go, holy shit, I'm really going to be stretched thin, so I'm going to knuckle down and do everything I can. And I think it's coming down to knowing yourself and knowing, are you going to be the person who really needs to have some money in the account for a rainy day to feel comfortable and settled and not anxious and nervous? Or is that really fire in your belly that makes you like really hit the foot on the pedal and go harder? And so probably learning, I guess, your level of risk and your level of action that you're willing to take, because generally higher risk, high reward, but not always in terms of like financially putting money in. Like you said, you could get so much out of a $2,000 program and not much out of a $20,000 one. So it's just the value for you and what you're putting into that.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, like not everyone's going to have that access to the resources in all of, whatever seasons of life there are, or the seasons of business, but they can still be serious about their dreams, their investments, whether it's higher, lower. Again, like whatever's lower for me might look higher for you. It's just so different. But again, just adding to what you're saying is just using those resources wisely. And like you said, not going and paying $20,000 to a coach going, oh, I'm just going to sit back and they're going to give me all the clients. It's just like, no, it doesn't work that way. You need to put in the work as well. And just, I guess it's just like, as you mentioned, investing a little bit more time within yourself, but your business, and then investing in a way that obviously doesn't make your nervous system so freaking scattered and anxious.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to feel right for you. And I think that's, a lot of what I feel is circling social media right now is like energetics and all these things, but we do have to have a logical element to it as well. And we need to make sure that there's some strategy and some systems behind the people that you're going to, help support you. Because I think the first, year of business or a couple of years of a business, it's really building your foundations and building your confidence, because no one's ever potentially paid you money before to do what you're doing. And then you have to get a couple of people and, a few dozen reps in the tank before you go, oh, I can do this. And then once you realize you can, then we want to like really, I guess, pull the trigger and go harder.
Yeah, so true. And I'm glad you brought the energies side of things, side of things up. Like, I don't know how spiritual you are, but I love the fucking woo. Okay. But like you said, there's a place and time for you being like, oh my God, I'm going to manifest this and do this. It's just like, yeah, cool. You can manifest it, but it takes work for you to get there as well. And it just goes back to, those type of coaches where they're like, yeah, I'm happy to invest all my money, and thinking that coach is going to be this magical unicorn that's going to bring all those leads. It's just like, nah, it takes you to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's where the energy meets the strategy that is really the magic in it. And the action, like you don't manifest something and then it just appears. Like you have to put in the steps. Like there's actionable, like anyone who's manifested anything has actually then gone and fucking put in work.
Yeah. And you know what? This is sometimes like, again, like I love both worlds, but sometimes when people sell you that, that saying, oh, just think about it, just manifest it, it will come to you. Yes, like you can envision like a big life and big dreams and all the success, but again, no one's going to fucking hand it to you. You have to put in the work to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Always.
And speaking of work, I know, like, it's so funny, like before we started recording, we're like, yeah, we're going to talk about injuries and clients. And now we like dove deep into the business, but I would really love to chat about the coaching side of things that you do right now with those who are finding those challenging times around injuries. Like, you're very big on helping people how to manage injuries. And I would love to know, like, what's your journey like with injuries and your health? Like, have you come across, a really difficult period of time where made you want to, do this?
Yeah, I think I'm probably a little bit more unique in the sense that I haven't had this catastrophic injury happen. I mean, I had patella tendinopathy when I was 15. I played volleyball for Queensland for 9 years, and I went through that. But the reason I got into exercise physiology was not due to my own injury. It was realistically because I went into sports science wanting to do something active, and then I didn't even know what it was at uni. And then at the end of first year, they're like, oh, there's this thing called exercise physiology. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, that's no extra years on my degree, and I get more qualifications. So it was really like a logical decision for me to be like, I can help service more people and help more people without having to continue to stay at uni for more than 4 years. So for me, that's kind of how I guess fell into it. And then I really just loved helping people through their injuries and through their rehab process when I got into the industry. And I got really, I guess, nerdy on all of the anatomy and the biomechanics. And so that's now what I teach through education and with my staff, is really about how to better help people through their injuries. And I think the passion really stemmed from just seeing the results that I was getting with the people that I was working with, and building those connections and seeing them transform their lives, and how impactful it was for someone to go from, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do this again, to like, I'm doing it and I love it and I'm kicking ass, or, I feel incredible and I used to be in pain every single day. And like those warm fuzzies of like, you've literally changed someone's life. When someone says that to you, like you can't unhear that. And that really, like, I think keeps me going with that aspect. And it's the same with the other side, with the coaches, like now I'm helping transform careers. And, if you can get someone to, create a sustainable income or hire their first staff member or do anything like this, it's like, wow, like they really feel indebted to you because you've transformed their life. So I guess I'm probably in the business of transforming lives, really.
pretty much. And I love that.
Which is cool. Like same with PT, right? Like you don't have to be, rehabilitating someone from, a really chronic injury. You could realistically be making someone feel more confident and get them stronger. And that really changes their life. And so I always sort of come back to, when I'm talking to either my staff or my mentees, it's always, we're not in the business of selling snake oil. We're selling life transformations. And if you truly believe in that, then you need to stand up for your people, you need to show up for your people, and you need to really challenge them and coach them through the times when they want to quit and they want to give up, because what's on the other side of that for them.
Yeah, 100%. And it takes a little bit more of accountability for it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the injury rehab stuff, not necessarily a personal journey, although I've sort of been in and around physio offices and things through sport for, better part of a decade and a half. But it was just more seeing it from the clinician standpoint and realizing what an impact that has in people's lives, rather than, to me, something like, being an accountant sitting behind a desk is like, I don't really know how this is. I can't connect with the people whose bank accounts that I'm managing, right? And I'm sure some people love it and they're like, no, it's amazing. But for me, it's about really helping people with things that I think are important in our lives. And I think our health is really up there.
Yeah, health is definitely, I would say, the number one priority right now as well.
Yeah. And it's only growing, right? Another reason I chose to be in the health industry. And my little fun fact, I was potentially considering being an actor. But I thought that we could help more people being in health. So I went down that route and I never looked back.
I was going to say, I could actually imagine you as an actor.
Yeah, I did speech and drama lessons for like all through my schooling and things like that. But I think it comes out when, I put myself in front of a camera, when I do social media content, when I do videos. So I feel like I still get that little entertainer sort of aspect to it when I have conversations and I get to, be expressive.
I love it. It's so good. And you know what? Like, it definitely shows, and it's definitely valuable because it's showing a little bit more of your character and your personality. And I guess that's how people are attracted to what we're doing instead of us continuously just being robots. Like, how often have you seen I don't know about you, but like, how often have you seen videos of people talking in front of the camera and they're just like robotic and talking like this, and you're like, oh my God, like this is fucking boring.
Yeah, I think it's a learned skill though. Like I wouldn't want this to discourage anyone from starting, because I think that's super important to just give it a crack, even if you do feel awkward and look awkward and your friends have a little chuckle at your expense, because we've all been there. It's just that some people are further ahead in their journey, and I started at the age of 3 when I just walk up to randoms in the shopping center and ask them how their day was. So, like I've got a fair few years under my belt of just having conversations with strangers. So, getting in front of a camera the first time is awkward, is clunky, but as with anything, it's just about starting and finding the support, whether it's your injury rehab or a business or learning about exercise, whatever that is for you.
100%. You know what? I still make fun of myself when I'm in front of the camera. Like, I think it was the other day or last week, I was talking about something and I think I made up a word, and I literally laughed at myself in front of the camera, and I was just like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to post this. It is what it is. You just learn from it and you get better, as you said.
Yeah. And I think you learn to let go of other people's judgment of you too.
Yes.
And the sooner that we can do that, the sooner that we can help people, because I think that sometimes we let, like you look and you're like, oh my God, I'm so awkward. And then I froze for 2 seconds and no one else really notices these things, because if we lead with the intention of what's in it for them and how can I add value, you stop thinking about me, and I look weird and how did I say that? And you start thinking, how can I provide value for the other person? Yeah. And then, it's like when you're in a really engaging conversation, you forget like what you look like and you might do something silly because you're so excited about the conversation, versus, I don't know, when you probably get up on stage or at assembly at school and you're like, oh my God, everyone's staring at me. Yeah. So kind of thinking about really what are you providing for the other people, because that's the important part of it.
Yeah, 100%. It's creating a little bit more value for everyone who's watching.
Yeah. Yeah. It has nothing to do with you, and people are going to like see it for half a second and then continue scrolling anyway.
Exactly. People don't even remember what they did the day before. So it's just like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so true. And too often, like, we're so hard on ourselves when it comes to social media.
Yeah, that's a very big point. What do you feel like your biggest challenges with socials?
Oh, that's a really good fucking question. What are my challenges with social media? To be honest, sometimes I find myself that I'm consuming too much instead of actually creating content. It's so easy. You go on there to check a couple of messages, and then half an hour later, you're just consuming everyone's content, and then you start doubting your own content. And it's just like, God damn it.
Oh my God, that has been me too. Yeah, the doubts of like, you see what other people do and you're like, oh, well, maybe in your eyes, they used to be behind you and now they're ahead of you, or they're doing things that you want to be doing. And I think it doesn't matter what level you're at, we all have these thoughts. And sometimes it's, removing yourself from that and being like, no, I'm still serving my people. I think it's a very interesting landscape.
Definitely is. Yeah, I would say that's one of the challenges that it's a work in progress for me, to be honest. Like, every so often I find myself doing it and I'm like, God damn it, Siggy. Like, again, come on, girl. Like, I thought we've overcome this.
I don't use it so much anymore because I have my team actually manage my social medias for the most part. which is my way of removing myself and delegating that. But you can set timers in Instagram for how many minutes a day that you want to be on it. So I find that helpful because it like sends you a reminder. It's like, you've been on this for 45 minutes. And you're like, fuck, what could I have done in 45 minutes today that wasn't looking at other people's random shit on my feed?
It's so true. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I literally set the timer up. Maybe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then I'll get those reminders like, all right, let's get off this. Let's get back to work. Like, come on. What would you say your challenges are?
I think for me, it's the unknown of whether to add platforms or different channels, or whether to continue to nail down the ones that I'm already doing really well. Because things like TikTok is like so foreign to me, or things like, we have a really large selection of YouTube videos, but there are a lot of just client video demonstrations, because we've done a heap of work with Swift Movement Academy and creating value and making sure that the videos that they're getting in their apps are of me demonstrating all these exercises. So there's like, I don't know, 600 videos or something crazy. But potentially doing more longer form content and actually some education pieces or some business pieces on YouTube. I think it's not trying to do everything, and figuring out what is working for you to nail down without, I'm not really an early adopter when it comes to social media. Like I've said I want to do a podcast for 4 years now, and we're finally getting it started. So, I'm not the first one to be like, what's TikTok? Let me experiment. I kind of like tend to sit back a little bit more, maybe to my detriment, maybe not. But I think that's the challenge for me.
Yeah, it's a good challenge. Yeah, to be honest, like TikTok is so foreign to me as well.
Yeah. But like, I mean, you think about maybe if I want to start working with, younger people, younger clinicians, is that where they're going? Yeah. Or do they kind of just dabble in that? And this is something I asked my partner the other day. I was like, do you think people go on TikTok just to watch things switch off, but people are actually buying on Instagram? And I think that people are actually engaging in TikTok, but I don't know, because I'm not on the platform enough. I don't know if people actually purchase or choose buying decisions based on that, because it feels a lot more influencer based. Yeah. Whereas in 10 seconds, how much education can you give someone?
True.
So it's like, if you're on an education platform, like YouTube's probably the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah. I to be honest, when I've been on TikTok, I haven't purchased much or anything actually. So
yeah. But I wonder if it's just like, it's a growing thing, and then in 5 years, like that could be, and if you were an early adopter, I don't know. So like retrospectively, you can be like, oh, wish I did this.
Well, at least you're starting your podcast, which is a good sign, because there's nothing better than sitting on an idea and then eventually starting working on it and bringing it to life.
Yeah, I think my problem is I have so many ideas and I wanted to do them all yesterday. And I'm like, let's go. And yeah, my team is like, whoa, Zenia, slow down. I can't. We need 3 months to, and I'm like, no, we can do it tomorrow. And they're like having heart attacks. And I'm like, it's fine. So we're very yin and yang, but it works. So yeah, we're finally getting things in place. When there's other programs or courses or things which I think I can provide more intimate value to people who are paying for our services, we tend to do that first. And then once we have a good, I guess, whatever a good amount is, but once we have some traction with that, then we go, let's add more, let's give value, let's provide, let's get more people to know who we are.
Yes. I love that. So beneficial. So good. Zenia, thank you so much for today. I swear this conversation has flown so freaking quickly.
Absolutely. I literally just looked at the clock and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Like we've been talking for 50 minutes. What?
Literally.
Crazy, crazy,
Oh.
crazy. Before we head off, where can our listeners find you?
If you're a coach, Swift Coaches Academy on Instagram. And everything else that we have is Swift Movement Academy. So that's for clients and to see what we do with our clients. If you're a coach and want to sort of see the injury rehab stuff that we do. So Swift Movement Academy on TikTok, which we're not very active on, but also Instagram, YouTube, website, just Google us.
Google away, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining me. And girls, if you got some value from today, I sure freaking did. Please screenshot, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag Swift Academy, tag myself, and then final words, Zenia?
Oh, are we doing like a motivational quote, or is it like what do you want?
Whatever comes to your mind.
Oh, okay. Something recently is that I think people write December off as a month, especially in fitness, but really people are gearing up, and the ones who are switched on are taking action now, not waiting until the new year. So if you're winding down, or even like early January, and you think people aren't ready or back, like this is the time when people are really thinking about what their plans are for the next 12 months, and really lean into that and continue to support your people and add value.
Boom. Love that, girls. Well, I will see you all very, very soon. Zenia, again, thank you so much for your time, and we'll speak very soon.